Hello, everybody, and we are one day away from Election Day, from the midterms, from the juiciest drama aside from the presidential election years. And you can only experience this every 2 years. Well, 4 years technically, because only the presidential race every 4 years, and only the midterms every 4 years. Yeah, but you can have juicy drama every 2 years, maybe even every 1 year. I mean, occasionally there's an off-year election that's competitive, like in 2021 in Virginia and New Jersey. Yeah, but aside from that, I wanted to just do a video of where does your vote have power this cycle. Probably should have made this several weeks ago, but yeah, I'm a little late to there. I figure it's might as well. Even if it's kind of last minute, I might as well just do it anyway. Yeah, so I actually, admittedly, I don't know much about like the House races or anything, so I'm only going to be doing things on a statewide basis. So I'm only going to be covering governorships and Senate seats that are competitive in each state, not like House races. That would be your responsibility to find out, unfortunately, But yeah, so I'm not gonna actually color code by party this time. I'm actually gonna color code by, I'm gonna say blue is gonna be a governorship, blue is gonna be competitive governorship. No, blue is gonna be a competitive Senate seat. Red is gonna be competitive governorship, and this yellow is gonna be both the Senate and the governorship are competitive. So, yeah, because I guess because Republicans control the governorships and the Democrats control the Senate right now. Yeah. So let's go in just geographical order. Senate seat, Washington is competitive this year. I know that's a rarity to see on the map because Washington is such a safe blue state normally. But yeah, this time around, there's a lot of states that normally aren't competitive that are, fortunately. Although unfortunately, my home state of Illinois isn't part of that. I mean, all these people, I'm so jealous of all those Washingtonians and Oregonians and etc., which actually have power this cycle, but mine like never does. I missed my opportunity in 2014. I wasn't old enough to vote yet when we had that huge upset with having a Republican governor who turned out to be a piece of crap, but whatever. It was still an upset, and I still would have loved to be part of it. I mean, I helped campaign for Rauner back then. I mean, I was a rhino back then. I was campaigning for Bob Dole, with a D, in Illinois. And he won. Because I helped to win. I helped him win a very close Senate race. A House of Representative race. And we marched with Rauner too, so I guess I was part of that, even if I didn't get to vote for that. So, oh well. But yeah, in Washington, Tiffany Smiley is surprisingly very close to the Republican nominee is very close to the Democrat nominee in terms of polling. It's not a huge chance, but there's definitely a chance that this could flip red. This could be. That's why you see there's predictions. The fringe predictions on even 538, for example. They say, it's possible that Republicans can get 57 Senate seats. That Washington would be one of them to like the flip. So the Senate race in Washington, competitive this cycle. Now let's move down to Oregon, and here the governor's race is competitive because Kate Brown, the incumbent governor, is the most unpopular governor in the country. She has like a 40% approval rating and a 57% disapproval, which is more than Biden and more than I think that's more even than that's roughly equivalent to like Kamala Harris's approval ratings. So Christine Drazan and the Republican nominee and the Tina Kotek, the Democrat nominee, who's seen as sort of like a protege of Kate Brown. They are neck and neck in the polls, and there's also an independent candidate, Bessie Johnson, who's taking votes away from both sides. So yeah, so this race is going to go down to the wire. So if you're an Oregonian, yeah, you have power this cycle. Yeah, go out and go out and go out and vote. Make your voice heard. So moving down, California does not have any power as usual. Lame. Nevada, both the Senate and the governorship are competitive. No surprise there. Arizona, same. Well, I mean, more so the Senate race, because Blake Masters, we're not so certain he was going to win. But Kari Lake, the governor, pretty certain she's going to win, even if by a small margin, but certainly. I really don't get why it's really that close, because Katie Hobbs really just killed her message with, first of all, with not debating Kari Lake. I think it's just such a coward move, and second, with the whole, like, this isn't even the first time they've done it with the whole attempt, the Jussie Smollett type actions, like how she tried to fake a Watergate type break-in, and it turned out the person who broke into her campaign headquarters was actually a Democrat and a supporter. It's just like in Virginia when Terry McAuliffe tried to like stage a fake Charlottesville rally for like Glenn Youngkin or something like that. And they were found out, and they were, dealt with accordingly. But this kind of shit keeps getting pulled. If you have to pull that shit, it's just like, it's like you've lost the argument. You've automatically lost. Like, you don't have a leg to stand on. So definitely, though, there's no such thing. I guess Mark Kelly isn't that weak on the Senate side, so Blake Masters isn't guaranteed to win, and Mark Kelly isn't guaranteed to lose either. Just moving on to New Mexico. So here the governor's race is competitive. Not the Senate race, but the governor's. The Mark Ronchetti, the Republican nominee, is neck and neck with only slightly behind Michelle Lujan Grisham in the governor's race. In this normally pretty blue state, it's going to go down to the wire. Still more likely that the Democrat wins, but don't be demoralized by that. Go out to vote. Go out to vote. Alaska, I forgot. Here the Senate race is between Murkowski and Shibaka. It's going to be competitive Senate race, not the governor's race, I don't think. Where else? In Colorado. So here, the Senate race ish. Not really. I mean, it's probably gonna. Joe O'Dea's not very popular. He's not very popular with the base, and this is a pretty. He's not like neck and neck in the polls or anything. He's pretty significantly behind, but it's not like super unclose either. So this is a pretty competitive race. It's like not very uncompetitive. Where else? Kansas. The governorship in Kansas is competitive. Laura Kelly, the Democrat who barely won last 4 years ago in a blue wave year, and she's neck and neck with Derek Schmidt, her Republican challenger. So this race is going to go down to the wire. Oklahoma, maybe not so much, but who knows what could happen. This could be a surprise. Kevin Stitt, I think he's like the incumbent governor or something, or he's like a new Republican governor, and he's running against Michelle Hoffmeister, who used to be a Republican but is now running as a Democrat. That's kind of why it might become close in this normally heavy red state where every county went to Romney and to Trump. Where else? Going up. Minnesota, the governorship in Minnesota. It's also kind of like Washington. More chance the Democrat wins, but I think we could see something depending on the strength of the red wave. We could also just see, Minnesota could flip on a gubernatorial level. So, Dr. Scott Jensen, he's he's very like not populist. So he's problems with like the Trumpian base. But Trump endorsed him, and then he rebuffed the endorsement, which actually might help in Minnesota. I mean, I'm not sure Trump is really well liked by most of the population, but who knows? He's going up against... But Tim Walz isn't very unpopular either, so who knows? I mean, Minnesota is also a weird state, too. It tends to just be blue no matter what, even when the city's being burned down. Wisconsin, both races are competitive, the Senate and the governorship. I'd say more so the governorship, because Mandela Barnes, the Senate candidate, Democrat, is not a very good candidate. He's he's spouting anti-patriotism. He's always talking about how he was talking about on July 4th. He was like, America being founded was like a terrible thing. I mean, not that I'm not going to talk about whether my personal views on that thing, but I'm just saying it's not a good way to fly and with these with American voters in a country that's so obsessed with patriotism as we are. In Michigan, the governor's race is competitive. Tudor Dixon and Gretchen Whitmer are neck and neck in the polls. I think Whitmer, the Democrat, is up, but if you take in mind go on to RCP, they're at Real Clear Politics. They're actually doing something really good this cycle, which is they're taking in mind historic poll underestimations for each of these races. And in Michigan, they've historically underestimated the GOP, and they're actually projecting it's going to be a GOP pickup. So I'm going to go with that too. I'm going to predict Michigan is going to go red. I'd actually be a bit surprised if it didn't flip red. So yeah, definitely get out to vote in that governor's race. It's going to be a tight one. Ohio, the Senate race is going to be competitive there. And the reason is because of an underperformance on the Republican side, because J.D. Vance isn't doing so as well as he should be in a state that voted Trumpian by 8 points both times. And who knows what that might be? Maybe it's because Tim Ryan, his Democrat opponent, is pretty populist, or maybe it's because J.D. Vance used to be an anti-Trumper or something like that. But the governor's race is not competitive at all. DeWine's going to win by double digits. Pennsylvania, the Senate race is definitely competitive. I still think Dr. Oz is going to win, but I mean, the governorship, that's probably going to go to Shapiro, unless there's like a tight Mastriano. There's like a shy Mastriano vote that the polls are missing in Western Pennsylvania, which they kind of did in the primary. They didn't anticipate McCormick doing so well and giving Oz a run for his money and nearly winning. But so I'm going to put this as both races are competitive. Who knows what can happen with the governorship in Pennsylvania. In New York, this has been getting a lot of attention, of course. The Zeldin, the governorship, he might actually have a chance to defeat Hochul, however small it may be. I don't know. I don't. Why do I keep saying? I know. I'm surprised that Hochul is the right way to pronounce it. I always keep saying Hochul. Don't know why people see the CH should be a K. No. But Hochul, whatever. Yeah, and and this is the first endorsement I've made publicly on my channel. I'm endorsing Lee Zeldin, the Republican. I think it would be really cool for New York to have a Republican governor. So get out to vote. And they're neck and neck in the polls. Hochul's leading a little bit, but who knows? There could be a shy Zeldin vote, maybe. For the legend of Zeldin. Who knows? But then he's not polarizing, so maybe not. This one instance for being polarizing actually works against him. Not polarizing. In Maine, the governorship is competitive. Paul LePage, a previous incumbent, who served 2 terms, Republican. He actually has a shot of unseating Janet Mills, the current Democrat governor. It's not surprisingly competitive. Even though this guy, he left office with a 38% approval rating, so I'm surprised that he's doing so well. Probably just because the Democrats are just so incompetent. That even an unpopular former governor might be a preferable option. New Hampshire, the Senate race, not the Senate race up there is competitive between Don Bolduc, and not Tulsi Gabbard, Maggie Hassan, the incumbent Democrat. Don Bolduc, he's, lots of people said, he had no shot at winning because he's been pro-war in the past, but then Tulsi Gabbard, who's like very anti-war and kind of a hero in the state, endorsed him, and so that might actually, flip it red. And they are neck and neck in the polls, like legitimately. There's like no one's like RCP currently recently flipped it back to Democrat, but they had it for Republican for a long time. So I think this could go either way. This is a true toss up. Rhode Island, sort of the governorship is competitive, just because the incumbent Democrats he didn't even get a third of the vote in his own primary. He's just so incompetent. Maybe in Connecticut, even the governorship. I mean, not really. It's a bit of a stretch. Where else? Town. Technically, North Carolina's not competitive. I'm not going to give into that, but I guess arguably you can say the Senate race. I don't know. Georgia. Florida is not competitive. If you really think it's going to be competitive, just get your head out of your ass. Georgia, finally. The Senate race, not the governor's race. Brian Kemp is very popular. He's going to win by double digits. And Stacey Abrams just really, she never had a shot to begin with, but she just killed her campaign again and again and again. By, first she, she was not wearing a mask while she was surrounded by a bunch of kids who she was making wear a mask, and then she was and then she said she won't accept the results of the election, which is dude, you're the party that keeps whining about January 6th, and now you're just now you're doing the exact same thing. You expect people to not notice you're in what used to be blood red America. So no excuses for the incompetence there. So yeah, here are the races. If it's in blue, it's a competitive Senate race. If it's in red, it's a competitive governorship. If it's in yellow, both the Senate and the governorship are competitive. So this should give you an idea of where your vote has power this cycle. If you live in any of these states, I would not pass up an opportunity to go make your voice heard, because your vote will actually have power for once, especially in the states that normally don't have power, like New York, like New Mexico, etc., like Oklahoma. Yeah, so hope you found that informative, and I look forward to watching the fireworks, the red fireworks. Yeah. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you later.